At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is that it can be done at a distance healing session. So location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm welcoming and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
Mr. Chris Kehler.
Good evening, everyone. Our guest, let's introduce, I want to get right into this. We got a lot to talk about. Eve Lorgen is the author of the book called The Love Bite, Alien Interference of Human Love Relationships, and also the book The Dark Side of Cupid, Love Affairs, the Supernatural, and Energy Vampirism. She's a 20-year-plus researcher and hypnotherapist in anomalous trauma. The spectrum includes alien ET encounters, paranormal experiences, my lab, and other dimensional visitations. The focus of her 2 books reveal taboo aspects of how love relationships have been orchestrated, interfered with, and disrupted by paranormal sources. Let's welcome Evie to the show.
I'm great. Thank you for having me on tonight.
Because of the topic that we're going to talk about is something that I research a lot myself with, and that is the whole extraterrestrial alien concept of how they affect our lives and how they can cause disruption, how they can cause health problems, how they can manipulate and just generally take a good day and make it a bad day. Am I wrong?
Yeah, they can do all kinds of things, and it can be very confusing. So, yeah.
You delve more into the whole aspect of relationships and how the extraterrestrials can take a relationship and basically turn it into something that it's not pleasant to oneself, is it?
Yeah, and it can be both really wonderful and then really awful at the same time. And there's different things that happen as a result of the alien interference, as I call it. So it's really something I discovered kind of inadvertently in my early work with anomalous trauma and people who've had alien encounters, abductions, that kind of thing. And I really didn't think that could be possible until it happened to me, and it happened to several people in my support group. And over the years, I've just got more and more reports of these kinds of things and really have a broader understanding of that in terms of not seeing it really as exclusively extraterrestrial, but also interdimensional. And so I'm learning a lot as I go along. And it's just a wide field, really. It's not just the interference in relationships, but there's other aspects that I get in my work now with people who are having different kinds of issues related to interference in different ways. It's not necessarily through a relationship, but it can manifest as certain kinds of psychic attacks or what I call dream hacking, or even the targeted individuals or people who've had, the MILAB experience, which is unique and different from the alien abduction experience, but some often related. So I hear that you've also done that, and it'll be interesting to hear what you have to say, because in my work, it's a constant source of discovery and revelation, and sometimes working with things that work and some things don't work, and you just have to keep working at it to find what's going on.
When you work with somebody, do you actually do any kind of energy work to help remove all of these components that can cause some problems?
I actually don't do the energy work. I guide them through their own process through a type of guided hypnotherapeutic process or visualization. I can guide them through their own connection with their highest spirit essence, we call it that, and then using that connection and awareness to clear what's present that's causing problems. And then along with that, I can do what I call trauma resolution. If something comes up that's traumatic, to release that emotional energy and reframe it in such a way that you basically collapse the timeline so there's no patterns that are repeating. So there's a lot of things that I can do. I'm also training in holographic kinetics, and I'm going to be doing a training coming up next week with Steve Richards. And there's a lot to learn, and I'm really excited about it because it gives me a new modality and a framework in which to understand things and to apply solutions.
Let me run some scenarios by you and see if you can elaborate on them. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of my clients, and of course, I've got permission from them. I'm not going to mention their names, but to talk about their issues. One of them is a client of mine. He is this wonderful person. He's got a heart of gold. He's like 6'5", 300 pounds of muscle. He's a firefighter, very good looking, very well to do. But for the life of him, he can't seem to find the right relationship with the person he wants to be with. He's looking for his soulmate. He's looking for that right person, but yet no matter where he turns, no matter what he does, he gets in a relationship, it ends up being a stinker.
Oh boy.
It ends up being somebody who treats him, a little badly, then dumps him, and then he gets heartbroken, and it's a terrible thing. Is this something that you would consider an ET aspect?
It could be. Actually, it could be. There's a certain pattern to what I call the alien love bite is what we called it in the beginning, and now I just call it the love bite and the dark side of Cupid, because it's kind of like two different things, but they're still connected and related, where let's say you'll have paranormal interference from a type of entity that's engineering your life, or with aliens, in abductees' lives where they're taken many times, they definitely will interfere in more than just a medical way, or depending on how they use these people or what their experiments are. So they'll match them up in relationships, sometimes just to observe, and sometimes, I believe, to harvest the emotional energy, really. So that has a certain pattern of the magical elements, the supernatural connections, synchronicities, feeling like you're in a magical world, heightened chemistry and paranormal activity. All that's in my book. So, but really to answer your question, I really wouldn't know about your friend unless he had a specific history that suggested, let's say, alien encounters over time or in his family line. It could be something like a pattern that's in his subconscious mind, a deep-seated belief that's embedded from an early trauma or experience, either this life or perhaps another life, that's causing that problem. And that's something that could be released in a holographic kinetics session. That's something that can probably be easily found.
When you talk about holographic kinetics, now I'm going to kind of elaborate on that a little bit with some of the things that I've been finding, and it's been very eye-opening in certain aspects. Now, this is going to correlate with the whole MyLab scenario, the Universal Soldier scenario, the abduction scenario. Is what I'm finding is that a lot of my clients, I'm going to say most of them for that matter, what I need to do for them, first of all, to do a certain clearing is I need to take their holographic body. Now, we all have a hologram of ourselves within our energy fields, and that is what I find that the ET and all the other culinary idiots out there, for lack of a better word, that like to take, they like to take advantage of us. They use that holographic body. So what I find all the time is that holographic body is off on the planet Saturn.
Oh, okay.
If you do research on the planet Saturn, on a spiritual venture, if you will, there is wars being fought on this planet over souls, over this, over that, power, you name it. It's being fought on this planet. And through quantum entanglement, where your energy is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and your energy is also in Winnipeg, Manitoba, if something happens to that energy in Albuquerque, you feel it in Winnipeg. Ergo, if your holographic body is on Saturn and you take a hit from a laser gun, you're going to have a headache on Winnipeg. Okay, on Earth. That's kind of the aspect of the hologram that I'm looking at. By removing that, by taking that holographic body and just intending it back onto Earth and reconnecting to the soul, all of a sudden it removes another veil to be able to help this person. Is that kind of the same aspect that you work on within holographic?
Well, I mean, it's a point of discovery. Sometimes we understand that, let's say in the MILAB situation or abductees, they will have clones or copies of themselves that can be used in other dimensional realities by the aliens or maybe humans. It depends on who's using them. And then we also have what I call the astral alters or alter personalities that could function on other dimensional realities or be pulled into other dimensions while their body's still here and they're still functioning here. And then they could feel that. So several things go on. So yeah, I guess in Malanga's method, which is the Italian researcher I might have mentioned, I don't know if I was on another show with you, but Dr. Corrado Malanga of Italy discovered that many abductees, almost every one of them, had copies made, and that in order to stop the accessing of their energy essence and their consciousness, you had to basically kill the clones, so to speak, and you had to get the parasites, the alien parasites out, as well as the implants. And then once you were able to take that out and then reintegrate your consciousness of mind, spirit, and soul, then they're not as able to access you. But if there was still a clone out there, let's say, then they could continue to access you through the clone because you still have a connection to the clone.
So that would be in the form of a holographic copy, let's say.
Yeah. In fact, he didn't even call it a clone. He called it a copy because he felt that the clone was actually different than a copy. And so it was really more like a holographic copy. But there's many, MILABs who experience these things, being pulled into other dimensional realities and then experiencing just like we are here, and then having different kinds of operations or skills or things that they're doing on these other dimensional realities, and they just keep getting accessed over and over again. So I think there's a technology to that too.
My biggest quest is to be able to help people with severe health problems like cerebral palsy, MS, ALS, and all of these very big chronic health problems. And I'm finding that the secret is within these types of scenarios where, something is happening in another time, another dimension, and we're getting an effect over here. And you have to work backwards and find that copy, let's say, and fix it there in order to fix it here. So that is really interesting that you said the word holographic copy, because that kind of sparked something within me.
Yeah, because even when we do things, let's say we call it, it's like a trauma resolution, where if you could truly resolve the trauma and collapse that, quote, timeline and that dimension, you can have reverberations in your energy body and your physical body as well. And holographic kinetics, they call that defragging. So that actually when you collapse a timeline, you release a trauma, you reassess the correct belief system or the truth with your spirit, then you basically collapse that. And when that happens, you can have reverberating effects, which actually are positive in the long run, because if you collapse the timeline or whatever that created the problem and you release that, then your body can shift, including physical patterns of illness or disease. So sometimes when that happens, people report a number of experiences, like just feeling really spacey for the next couple of days, or having really bizarre dreams that start coming up that show the deeper situation on a subconscious level. Or you can, have to go to the bathroom, like feel like a racehorse for several days. And you're like, what the hell's going on? Or you'll have you'll just feel spaced out, or it's actually your energy body is literally reshifting from the old imprints to the new imprints, which are the better ones, basically.
That's interesting. Another one of the things I'm working on is by installing a new human template into the person, it tends to block them off from any kind of abduction scenario or keep their energy locked in, because now it's almost like a new operating system where it's got a new antivirus within it. So that is another thing I've been working on. The whole alien abduction, the whole alien implant, the whole concept of that. Now, when I talk about this to people, when I bring it up, they look at me with a stink eye and say, okay, now I know you're all into health and everything, but you must be smoking something, because to come up with this stuff about aliens. Now, when you talk about this to people, what kind of reactions do you get from most people who aren't really quite educated or into this?
Well, I mean, I've learned not to, and it's kind of like the double life thing, which is part of having grown up with these kinds of experiences. You learn not to talk, and you learn to keep it a secret, and you only talk to those who've had experiences, so you can kind of only speak with those who understand. We kind of have our own secret code of recognizing each other, you know. But really, I mean, this is true, and it really is dependent. It's a awareness, what you're aware of, and as you awaken and as you clear your traumas and you have this solid intention, I think people have to have the intention to want to heal and to really want the truth with all their heart and all their soul. And once that happens, it's like something opens up where things are revealed to you, and you will have a gradual expansion of awareness as you clear these false beliefs and whatever the veil is over our perception, because I think our perception has been really blunted in this matrix world. And it's really not what we think it is. And when the veil comes off, you know, people may observe, you know, like the energy body of humans. They may see the entities, like when they live sunglasses, they put those sunglasses on, you can start seeing things. Or sometimes people feel it or sense it in a different way. But as you increase your awareness, you start to notice these things. And so I just talk with people who are aware, and I know that they're open to that. But there's many people who are aware, but they don't know about the aliens. They may see it in a different perspective, you know. So like some shamans may view it a totally different way, but it's still very real. I mean, these entities are real, and they do have an effect on us if they're interfering or linking into us. So.
Well, you know, you look on YouTube and you look at any kind of footage of an alien spacecraft that somebody's got. There's millions of hits on that site.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people really
are interested. They want to know. They want to see something. But when you start talking about it at this level, that they're controlling us, that they're in our fields, that they're manipulating us or copying our DNA, they're doing all these different things, that's when people tend to get a little freaked out. When my wife and I go out somewhere, she says, "You're not going to talk about your stuff tonight, are you?"
Yeah, I know. You could lose a few friends, right?
And gain a few more, that I've found out.
I mean, I found out that I have a lot of friends, I mean, sometimes better ones than the ones I lost, because now I can hang out with people who are aware and we're willing to share and explore and be okay with being uncertain about things, and know that we're constantly learning, and that, you know, quote, shit happens sometimes, and that's just the way life is. And it's nice to have somebody that you can talk to and be open with, and to do these clearings with and find out what's going on. And it seems to me the most talented people are those who have expansion of awareness, where they may have had experiences themselves and learned through their experiences to become more clear. And I'll give you an example of someone. We did a roundtable discussion event at the end of February on the love bite and the dark side of Cupid topic, with 5 of us, myself, James Bartley, Brenda Butler, Laura Leon, and Bernard Guenther. And we all talked about our own personal experiences with, quote, the love bite, whether it was the alien manipulated one or the dark side of Cupid, where you have like a vampire type partner who's overshadowed by some being. So we really got to get into a deeper discussion of this and what we learned through our own personal experiences. And it really takes exploring over a period of time, sometimes 20 years of doing healing work, where you finally discover through, let's say, not only, you know, regression or primal therapy or meditation practice or lucid dreaming or whatever, that sometimes we start remembering the causes of some of these connections with these interdimensional beings. So one of the women shared that she did recall, you know, ancient Egyptian lifetime, you know, a priestess and sorcery type of lifetime, where she worked with energies and got involved with things that she shouldn't have, made certain kinds of pacts and agreements with these high-level interdimensional beings. It could have been a Draco, I think it was. And once you make a pact or a connection in one lifetime, they'll follow you lifetime after lifetime in all your other multiple dimensional lives. So in order to clear them, sometimes you have to find the root cause, or what we call the dimensional source, the dimension in which they entered. And when you can clear that and have true understanding and acknowledgement of how that happened, and to release it and to break those agreements and contracts, then it shifts all the other lifetimes and experiences from that point forward. So you literally change the past, change the present, and basically change the future.
Very nice, very nice. Now, you just mentioned finding out what dimension that they enter from, and let me comment on that. Is one of the things that I started doing lately is working within, let's call it the time matrix body that we all have. Of course, we're all slavery to time. Everything is done by the clock. The show starts at 5 o'clock. We got to be into work at 6 o'clock. Blah, blah, blah. It's all about time. So we have this time matrix body that I'm finding that the ET and anything else is infiltrating into us through that. Okay. And what I've been doing is I've been finding out what dimension it is connected to.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Generally, I'm finding it's either in a lower dimension, like first or second dimension. I've also been finding connections within the 19th and 20th dimensions. So all I'm doing is I'm intending to disconnect that time matrix from wherever it is, reconnect it to the 5th dimension. I do the same thing with the person. And all of a sudden, what it does is it takes away the veils.
Oh, my goodness.
So you can really get in there. Now, here's another one I'm going to throw at you. And this just came to me today. So if there's ET in your body, and I worked on 2 people today, removing gray aliens and reptilians out of them, and got huge differences right away. Uh-huh. And by removing something called smoke and mirrors of Wiru.
What's Wiru? What's that?
Don't ask me. I don't know. It's a terminology that spirit gives me. Okay, it's one of those words that when I say it, they try and research it on the internet. It's not there because it's something that was given to me to use as a terminology. So the definition of that is veil of shamanic gray aliens, smoke and mirrors of Wiru, or veil of shamanic gray aliens. Now, I remove a lot of shamanic spells from people. What I'm getting out of the mix here, out of the little riddles and the little hints that they're dropping, the breadcrumbs, is that the gray aliens and reptilians, the archons, they're all working within a shamanic type of energy, which is working with spirits. Okay? And by removing that veil, all of a sudden, it's like opening the door and you see somebody sitting on the toilet with their pants down. Okay? It's right there in front of you, and all of a sudden you can see the problem, and you can move it out, and it just makes it that much easier.
That's it. Where do you take them when you remove them? Is there a place that you put them?
I put them into sanctuary. I take that alien out, I just send it to God and say, God, please deal with this. Take it to sanctuary.
Interesting.
It is. That is my quest, is to really get deep into this whole funkiness of what is really going on with our health, so you can actually make a difference within people, instead of saying, well, you got asthma, you just got to go home and deal with it. It might get better, it might not. I can say, look, I know how to get in, I know how to deal with this problem, because ultimately we all have issues with our health, with our emotions, with depressions. All these different things have a starting point. And the starting point that I find is all of these spells, all of these aliens, all of these outside sources, let's call them. And I'm finding that the ET, the aliens, are working in conjunction with the God realm, all of the Greek gods, they're all together, they're all in cahoots.
It's amazing how we can connect that. I think Malanga also did a comparative study and basically figured out that it's all connected to a hierarchy. And of course it depends on which group, but this is something that Wes Penra in his papers, his level 4 papers, and also some newer writings talk about the alien invasion force and how these same beings connect with some of the ancient gods and Olympians and mythical figures, and how they all kind of interconnect. And I wanted to make it a simple bottom line thing in my Dark Side of Cupid book. Really is like, how can you tell if one of these beings is benevolent or neutral or malevolent, And because there's so many beings, right, with different names and different appearances, and it can get really, really confusing very fast. So I believe that if they do some kind of energy vampirism where they link in and siphon your life force in some way, or manipulate and exploit and hijack, then they're malevolent, and that their signature will be shown through those kinds of behaviors and how that appears even in a relationship that's being manipulated, then you can tell. So the good ones aren't going to do that, and the neutral ones really won't interfere.
Yeah, you've got all your different ones, and I've done some research, and I found one site that listed 200 different ones. It's like, come on, give me a break. I can't keep track of all you yahoos. But what I do rely on is the channelings I get with my pendulum from my guides that say, these ones are the main ones you need to work on. Don't worry about the other ones because they're just hanging around watching. They're rubberneckers. As humanity does have contracts with the reptilians and the greys, it's a well-known subject. And there's also the archons that are riding on their coattails, if you will. So by working just within that little realm and working alongside removing the Greek and Egyptian gods that are just a bunch of son-of-a-guns, it does make a difference. I've worked on people just by removing Zeus out of their body. 20 years of pain in their back just immediately leaves.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, interesting you say the back because in Malanga's work, and of course I'm sure they've found this with other healers, that the alien parasites, there's certain types of entities that come from certain places, and they will attach on the spine and different places along the spine. And they may give you back pain, or you may have sensations in different areas of the spine in particular, because that's an area where they could like tap right into the root chakra, for example. So a lot of times when we do a scan and for implants and stuff, we'll find entities and parasites that lodge in different parts of either the spine, but sometimes it's the brain, sometimes it's the eyes, and different areas of the body. So
what I find a lot is in the brain. Now, I did work on somebody today and removed a gray out of her brain, out of her muscular system, and immediately she felt as if something had left her body. She felt uplifted, she felt lighter, she felt clearer. So that's what I always say is proof in the pudding. When you intend that something leaves and you feel better, then you know there's got to be some kind of validity to it. And I think we're just tapping the lid. We're just getting the bottle open to really find out exactly what is in that bottle, exactly who made the agreements, who is in charge, who's the big kahuna
exactly
controlling all of these people.
Yeah, because it can be so complex with our contemporary modes of viewing or perceiving reality. Even the extraterrestrial hypothesis is limited and may cause us to maybe not see things clearly. I think the holographic universe and an extra-dimensional universe is more accurate in terms of how they interfere. And, you know, it's like they interfere in our mind, spirit, and soul. And they can program the mind and program the soul even. And then they could link in different areas and aspects of our being. So and then that could affect your health, definitely affect your health.
Everything bottoms out with your health. You got emotional issues, it's going to give you a health problem. Mental issues are going to give you some kind of a health problem spin off it. It all comes down right down to that very end result of a health problem. You worry a lot, you've got stomach issues, you're nauseous. See, these things are going to give you a headache all the time. Of course, with what I do, I'm able to keep my field clear. Every once in a while, I'll get hit. I'll wake up in the morning and feel a little bit of headache in the back of my head and say, okay, something hit me last night. I'll get rid of it. Ultimately, by staying clear, your thoughts are your own.
Oh, that's good. That's good that you could recognize that because really, it's so amazing. I mean, with what we've discovered with the aliens and the interference, what we've discovered is that a lot of times what we thought were our thoughts were actually, let's say, implanted or embedded telepathic suggestions or embedded subconscious material or, you know, sigils or programs or different things. And so the whole idea in at least holographic kinetics is to become more and more clear of things that really are either programs or entities or traumas or false beliefs until you get basically straight and directly connected to the highest spirit essence in the eternal now that has absolute truth. And then so apparently the soul can be programmed according to Steve Richards, which I believe that's true now. So we have to be careful what we're talking to when we're doing our sessions. We have to realize, okay, what part is talking? Is the ego talking? The personality? Is it the soul? Is it the spirit? Is it programming talking? Is it an entity talking? And we have to discover what that is so that we can get to the root problem. Because sometimes we go through programs and the programs is not the truth. You know, sometimes we have beliefs, and the beliefs are beliefs, you know what I mean? They're not really the absolute truth according to your spirit. So in this world, we have all these belief systems that we take as true, but a lot of them are programs that are basically aimed to deviate us from the true connection with spirit that gives us that truth. So some people are more connected than others with their internal intuition, truth, spirit, whatever you want to call it. But I think belief systems we hold on to, and the more rational our minds, and the more we get stuck in the contemporary worldview of the rational mind and the patriarchal thinking, that's more what I call deviated from the truth.
I like to call it distraction.
Yeah, that too.
Everything around us is distraction. So let's say we all have the ability to have this energy level. And I was told by a very, very close friend of mine who's extremely spiritual that we all have the potential to have the energy of a supernova. Now, these ET, of course, they don't want us to have that because all of a sudden they're not going to exist. We're going to be able to just blink an eye and obliterate a race.
Yeah.
So, of course, now they want to keep our focus off of that. They want to distract us with stuff on TV, with computers, with new products, with a sore toe. They want to distract us with bright and shiny objects in front of us. They want to keep us from actually going forward and finding that true potential that we all have as human beings. Now, as human beings, we do have a lot of things going for us that a lot of these ETs species don't have. We've got the ability to do magic. There's a lot of different things about us that they don't want us to know.
Yeah. Well, they dummy us down in as many ways as possible so that we don't know that we're being farmed and how to get out of the farm and how to get out of the game. So, a lot of the work that I'm wanting to do now is really solutions and exploration of, the clearing and connection with spirit so we can get out of the game and learn how to get away from the constant interference that happens. So it's happening on all these different levels, though. I mean, it's definitely on a physical level, and even in our diet and the toxins that are in our normal diet and the chemtrails and the vaccines and the food and the GMO. It seems to be aimed at keeping us dummied down so we don't wake up to realizing, basically we're being farmed and used for our energy, basically.
As above, so below. So if you look at it in a scientific point of view, you've got a cage of rats, and you put them through a maze, and you make them do all these different things. It's no different than what they're doing with us. We're a cage of rats. They're doing experiments. They're trying this or trying that. And then the God realm, those son of a guns up there, are using us for entertainment. They're like, okay, let's create a famine.
Yep.
Let's create this Ebola thing, and let's see what happens. See what the humans do. It really pisses me off in a lot of ways.
We are entertainment for some of these beings, and some of them are not pleasant at all, like the reptilians. And I think it's unpleasant to even think about that. That's why people don't want to go there. They want to think about other things and kind of be in denial of it and think that if they just don't think about it and they just focus on positive things, it'll all go away. But in reality, that's a screensaver program. That law of attraction is only as useful as how much you've actually been able to clear out of your field on a holographic level, on a multidimensional level. So, you could think that you're really positive and trying all this positive thinking, law of attraction, and then you still keep getting crappy relationships. You don't know why. And it could be something else. It could be another thing that we don't understand, that like the rules of the game, they're not quite understood. So in holographic kinetics, for example, we go deeper and to find the origin and cause of something and release it so that that pattern no longer has to remain, because a lot of us really don't know the deeper awareness that needs to take place to resolve these things.
You mentioned the laws of the game, the rules of the game. Yeah. Quite often they do give me a little bit of the rule book, the law book. And there's one law called the law of planets, which says that the gist of it is that there's certain planets we're not allowed to astral travel to. We can't go to them. But if we go to them, all of a sudden, now we start to carry some karmic debt. We get a mark on our soul, and that means that these ET can come in and do more stuff to us. So the more marks you have against you, the more you're going to get hit by these ET.
Interesting. And I'm wondering if it's a karmic thing in terms of a degradation of energy that makes it so they can get you because you're not supposed to travel somewhere, or is it just a marker like if you shine really bright and they don't want a bright shining person, they basically target you, because that we find that happens too. There seems to be a targeting of really aware people or people who are doing a lot of, let's say, healings for others. And I'm sure you've noticed this, that you do a healing on someone, for example, and you clear a big nasty entity or whatever it is, and then the next day or night or whatever, then you get hit with something, and it's like a reprisal or a backlash.
It's a bit of a wrath.
They'll know, and then because we notice this all the time. This was one of the first things I discovered in the abduction support groups, where people would have all these unusual things happen to try to stop them from meeting each other and sharing. Or in the holographic kinetics, for example, we would have all these unusual things that would happen to try to prevent people from doing the training or getting the clearings. And they would be phenomenal things. I mean, things that were just out of this world to be highly unusual,
One of the things that I do find within my work is if somebody is getting hit a lot, what I generally find that within their field, their chakra system or a part of their aura or something, there's some kind of secret, some kind of universal secret that is being hid within us. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to get to that secret.
So are you saying the aliens are trying to get some kind of secret from us?
Yes.
In terms of
yes.
information? Well, I mean, they say it's the spirit or the soul. They're trying to entrap that life force, original creative spark in us, but use that as a battery for their agenda. So one of the alien agendas that Malanga talked about in his terminology was that they're trying to create a disconnect between mind, spirit, and soul, and make it so that the alien parasite consciousness is embedded in the mind component or the spirit component of the person. And then once they do that, then the alien's will takes over that body, that vehicle, and basically has its agenda in the body. So it's using the body, like let's say a virus just replicates itself in a cell. So basically that's what they're trying to do to humans, to create a disconnect so we can't connect with our spirit, but then they use that power. They're just basically stealing our energy and our power to live through us.
One of my thoughts is that souls is like currency in the universe. If you were to take your own life, let's say, all of a sudden, you die before your time, nobody from the good side is waiting there to take you and guide you into where you need to go. Here comes the dark side in, E.T., whatever you want to call it, now has your soul. And they can use that soul to implant clones, hybrids, to go off and fight these wars or to do whatever nastiness, or they can also use it as currency. That's one of the things that's come up with me.
Yeah, it's entrapping souls, or, in the, satanic, luciferic stuff, there's people who promise their souls in some high degrees or whatever, and that would mean that, see, people use terminology different, because there's like the highest spirit essence that has the eternal power and life force in it. That's the part that gives power to the soul, actually. Mm-hmm. So they'll take the soul. It's like if you make that agreement, then they could use your soul and use the power to basically control your soul like a puppet. So basically that's what they're doing, is trying to completely control. But they have to get your agreement at some point. But the trouble with the agreements is that now what we're finding is there's agreements of entrapment that are very, very subtle in ways that we're really not aware that, oh my God, that was an agreement. This particular thing constituted an agreement of entrapment that people are not even aware what the fine print is in these alien laws or whatever you want to call it. We don't even realize what we're signing to or what we're agreeing to until maybe after the fact.
Well, you look at how many rock stars there are who can't sing a note, but they're famous as anything. They've made these agreements to have all this fame and fortune, but of course they've sold their soul.
Yeah.
There's a curse called the curse of 27. How many rock stars have died at the age of 27 in their prime?
Mm. Yeah.
If you think about it, Bob Dylan will look you straight in the eye and says, yes, I've sold my soul.
Wow.
The guy's a good poet, but boy, he can't sing. I don't care. How does somebody like that get so famous who can't even sing? Okay, I mean, that's just a point I'm trying to make. Yes, we do make these agreements, these contracts, these vows, and even on a human 3D level, here we are right here, you're standing across from somebody you love, and you vow to love them till death do us part. You're the only one they're ever going to love. All of a sudden, 5 years later, they had a bad car accident, they die, and now you're having tons of trouble trying to get into another relationship because you made a vow with this person, and the universe sees it as written in stone.
Yeah, I mean, the vows and agreements, it's something that happens on a more subtle level, or even our subconscious minds could accept something that creates a pattern that we're really not aware of. And that's what we do when we undo some traumas and holographic kinetics and the clearings. We find out what those agreements are and the entrapments are so that you could clear that from your system. Because sometimes these things took place many lifetimes ago, or even through your bloodline in terms of a genetic transfer of something.
Yes.
So there's different ways things could come through. So it's not a clear cut, law of karma the way a lot of people think karma really is. And I've learned that it's not. See, a lot of people use like kind of a guilt trip kind of thing, like a religious guilt trip to make you feel guilty if bad things are happening to you. And really, if you do the self-exploration and the healing to find out it's really not what some people try to make you think it is. Like it's all your fault because you were bad in your last life or something. It's really not like that.
No, it isn't. It's not.
It's I think a more compassionate approach needs to happen for people. And a lot of people are stuck in belief systems where it's not a wonder they're not healing. It's not a wonder they're in denial. It's not a wonder they're using it as a screensaver program to really avoid the deeper issues. Like religion could be a program, a mind control program. I'm still curious about the methods you use in terms of how these other dimensions become visible once you work with a certain, I don't know if it's a certain instrument you're using or a certain method where the veil comes undone and you're able to suddenly see what's happening on all these different levels of dimensions.
I'm using my pendulum, and I'm using a set of charts. And, of course, the charts are handwritten, so I can change and add words as I go. And I have a letter chart. And I'll ask questions on a daily basis, and it'll spell things out for me. My guide will say, well, you need to work within the personal soul. You need to work in the time matrix. It sparks a thought. It's like, time matrix, what the heck is that? Mm-hmm. Then I'll ask, it'll tell me. Then it'll give me an instruction spelling it out. They're actually giving me secrets. They're starting to give me more and more secrets as the days get closer to ascension, which is unbelievable because it is working for people. Removing the veils is the biggest one, being able to actually see the problem for what it is. Whether it's spiritual and physical or just physical, you can actually find the problem with the pendulum when you're working psychically. Then I use my pyramids, but give intent through the pyramids to remove that energy or that problem, and immediately it's gone. Most people feel a result right away. So it's proof in the pudding that I'm working at these certain levels. So if you've got things that you say, you know what, Chris, I've got this scenario, why don't you try it? And I could try it against my clients, and then I could know whether there's validity to it or not.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's different methods, and so I just didn't understand exactly how you did what you did.
At the end of the day, it's working, and it's all because of working within those areas of the ET, of the God realm, all of these fanciful things that we read about in science magazines and see on TV and on YouTube that do actually have validity to it. And I'm basically proving that because people are getting help from it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, with some of the alien stuff or the MILAB stuff, a lot of times we'll do a session and it seems fine for 24 to 48 hours and then the aliens come back. Or, we clear something and then it's fine for a while and then something happens that shows that they're being re-accessed. This happens a lot with MILABs or people who've been into these deeper occult bloodline programs. And so sometimes that takes really working with to try to find out why they're being re-accessed, what really happened in the healing, and why they came back and what changed. Because it's not always cut and dry, and it's frustrating sometimes. And
for me, what I find is when I use the tools, the pyramids, it gets into a certain level of the body that it clears everything completely out, so there's no residue left for that being to attach back onto. Because I can do the same thing with just thought, intent, or my hands. It ends up coming back in a week or so. So by using the pyramids, it just brings it to that level where it just completely clears it out.
So it's like an amplification of clearing of energy through intent.
Yes.
So as long as that, I guess it's like an imprint in the person's subtle energy body as well. That if there's an imprint or something in there that can allow the reattachment or like something that's not resolved, completely resolved or acknowledged, then that could leave an open window for these entities to come back or reinstallation of a program.
That's basically it. When you're using that device, if a gray alien comes into your body and he sits down and he's got 5 things with him, 5 different things, when you clear out that gray alien, he takes it all with him. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, we know that they do inhabit people and parasite people. We definitely know that. And I think there are technologies that are enabling that to happen more easily. And I did interview a woman several months back, might even be last year for now, who actually was able to see psychically what she felt was technology that was enabling reptilian technology to enter and embed itself within the architecture of certain specific buildings. And in those buildings where people frequented and carried on in certain kinds of activities, it facilitated, like the reptilian possession or hosting phenomena, that it basically caused them to become more easily parasited permanently, changing their energy body and their mind and their behavior through technology, as well as so they're mixing technology with occult, spiritual kinds of phenomena.
Yeah, in Winnipeg, our Parliament building is built on sacred geometry. Everything within that building has got the rooms are all a specific size. All of the nuances in the artwork are all to do with sacred geometry, and it's all Masonic. So it's basically a Masonic temple built as a Parliament building. And what happens when all those different energies are around, it creates vortexes or doorways.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's when they get in.
Right. In fact, that was something that one of my clients brought up. Another client that she was working in a building. It was actually a mental health home, like a home for the mentally ill or disabled or whatever, but they were doing rituals, and rituals were causing portals to be opened in certain areas of the room, but they would always come like in the corners. Like when you talk to people who have sightings or portals open up in their homes, a lot of times the portals will be in a corner of the room or in a closet or along a line of energy or where there's water. So there's certain architectural things that I think facilitate portals and dimensional doorways. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be a form of geometry or an energy source. Running water will create a current. There's a lot of different things involved that need to be in place, done over a ley line, or there's a lot of different things. If you have a dome over your building, a dome can create a vortex, so there's ways to get in. Now, they can also come in through your chakra system.
Yes, they do.
In a big way. I'm closing down stargates out of people's chakra system every day.
Yes, because people could be living portals, and a lot of times it's because they're in one of the chakras or they're embedded, in one of their energy centers. Sometimes it's more in the body, sometimes it's more in the energy body. And that was something that Malanga found, that, sometimes the implants were more of the brain/mind. And the way he described it was that the mental field was more of the part of us that exists in time and space and perceives reality as a duality, and that would be more brain oriented. And so the aliens would basically link on to the mind and affect the mind in a certain way so that our perceptions would be altered. And then there was other types of entities that would instead only connect in a spiritual energy body aspect on certain chakras, like the root chakra or the heart, behind the heart, or the solar plexus, or different areas. So depending on where they hooked into, what kind of being it was, they would affect them in a different way.
Yeah, what I found is that there are certain different beings that one will create a scenario for the other one to benefit from. So there's one being I found, they're called the Tiazi, and they will create an emotional component within somebody. They'll create so this person always gets emotional when they spill milk or something happens. The emotions go, and then the archons come in and clean it up.
Oh, goodness me. Well, that makes sense, because what they want to do is create a trigger, let's say an emotional trigger where there's an embedded trapped emotions from a trauma, and then they'll amplify that emotional energy through some kind of implant or entity, and then the entity deliberately, like, basically rattling the cage. They're causing the triggering on purpose for the specific purpose of the emotional output, right, or the energetic output, and then they do this on purpose to feed on people. So it's amazing.
That's basically it. We eat food, we plant crops, we go to the grocery store. These ETs, they eat energy, and the most tasty of the energies are fear, hate, anger. That's their pizza and cheeseburgers.
Well, in the love bite, though, I mean, sometimes it's love and the sexual energy and the kundalini energy as well. It's not just the negative emotions. They're able to tap into everything, actually. But I think it's easier for them to link in if there's some kind of lower energy, emotional energy going on And it's easier for them to link in, like, for example, like emotional vampires. I talked about this in my Dark Side of Cupid book, where the way they try to link in with you is they always try to hook you into a drama of some sort, because they're always looking for a response, and they really need that response. They need to create a drama or start a fight or do something, and it's this parasite inside them that's really, I don't know, causing them to want to do that. So they're always looking for a way to hook in. So it's like, well, they'll insult you or they'll do something to piss you off, push your buttons to see how you'll respond. And then once you get linked in, right, to the drama, that's actually your agreement of entrapment to be fed on. And then
sure, absolutely.
To link right into your field. So it's kind of like learning how to be neutral without being indifferent and not compassionate or anything, but learning how not to get engaged into unnecessary dramas and addictions and bullshit that you don't need. Yeah.
That's exactly it. It's just staying away from the negativity. Don't give something energy. If something is rattling you, just don't give it energy. Just bless it and walk away.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you can do. And it's an interesting life.
Yeah, to say the least. Why don't you give everybody listening your contact information? I'm sure that people would love to talk to you.
Oh, yes. Well, evelorgen.com is my website. I also have a Facebook page. It's Eve Lorgen or Eve Lorgen. I actually have two. And you can contact me through my web. I have a contact form that they could fill out if they have a message or inquire about a session or something. So, and then I've got two books, the Love Bite and The Dark Side of Cupid, and they're both available through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, both in Kindle and hard copy. So, and those are really good information in terms of how to understand if something unusual is happening in your relationship and you don't know why. It can help explain a lot of things and really help you solve the problem, whereas before we would have been grasping at all these different solutions because they really didn't know the source of the problem. So that's what I hope to do with my books, is to give how to understand what the problem really is in a paranormal interference situation, and then how to solve that problem.
Yeah, understanding any kind of problem, just knowing why it's there, does make that big of a difference that you can actually now create a game plan to go in and try and fix it. The same with your health problem, actually knowing what it really is, whether it's something simple like just a parasite, a virus, or whatever. When you come to terms with what is causing a problem in your life, when you discover what it really is and you come to an understanding and an agreement that I know what to do with this, I know who to go to, I know how to professionally deal with this, or I can deal with myself. Now you can start to empower yourself and become a human being again.
It's about being empowered, and I know a lot of people in there, I don't know, we get, I guess, accused of being negative and fear-based because we talk about negative ET stuff and all these unusual things that are happening, but really it's about understanding, and once we understand the problem, we can create solutions and we become more empowered and happier people. And
that's exactly it. That's all the time we got for tonight. I'd like to thank Eve Lorgen for being on the show. I love you to death. I love what you do, and please keep it up. And you and I need to do some more head knocking together to come up with some more scenarios, I think. Very good energy here. This is Chris Kehler from A Quantum View.
There you go. Thank you very much, you guys.